I'm Lisa Berry.
Arlene Schofield.
My name is Shireen Snow.
My name is Carla A. Miles.
Diana Camuto.
This is Christine Dunford.
I'm me, Eden.
Caroline Macy. This is Walker Fannin.
Lydia Camille Dixon.
I'm Sarah Dates Wardam.
My name is Linda Preston, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 449. I am your host, Keith Andrew. Along here with the talented and beautiful Demetra Faith. And I just want to say thank you for joining us on the talk show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored that you reached out to connect.
No, the honor's all mine. Now, for people who want to know what my talk show is about, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities. But you should never give up and you should prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. And you should prove to them you can still amount to something. So hashtag break the labels. And now the new catchphrase I was coming up for myself because I'm eventually going to have a live show. And you're got to be a guest on there. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person and doing a live show. And people are like, well, you have to be spontaneous. It's got to be live. You can't be like, okay, today on the show we're going to have... Because people will get up and walk away. So I'm like, okay, I can be charismatic, sarcastic, be an asshole.
Maybe not the asshole part. But
yeah, but just be upbeat, be funny. So one of my favorite wrestlers is The Miz. It used to be Bret Hart, but now I kind of relate myself to The Miz. I kind of look like Randy Orton. If I was a hat on, I kind of look like John Cena. So I'm a combination between Cena, Orton, and Miz. So my new catchphrase is my nickname. It's K-A. And what K-A stands for is kick-ass.
Awesome. Well, we should all have that as a part of our title.
Oh, absolutely. So my name is Keith Andrew, the kick-ass.
Great. Pleasure to meet you, kick-ass.
But, a lot of people would think they're funny and twist it. So they call me ass kiss. Or kiss ass.
We can skip that part.
Well, this is what happens when you have two initials that can go either way.
I guess you can make up whatever you wanted at that point in time.
That's true. Well, right now I'm just calling myself Kick-Ass. Actually, no, I think that's copyrighted. I say kicking ass. Keith Andrew, K-A, kicking ass. Because that's not copyrighted.
No, not at all.
I should get this copyright right now. But this, for people who want to know about my show, tell you a little bit about it because you're going to be a guest on it. It's called Keith Andrew Network Presents The Sit Down with Keith Andrew. So basically, this is how the show's going to be. The show will begin with the lights off. There will be a video package. Then the lights will flicker. Then someone will announce my introduction. I'll come out. I do the whole speech. Tell you what the show is about. Do a little KA chant. Don't worry, it's going to be in a little hashtag KA. So we'll do a little KA chant. And then I would interview the guests. And it's pretty much what we're doing right now. But it's live and it's on TV.
Great.
Well, okay, it's not live. It's pre-recorded. But yes, it will be on TV.
That's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, I can always talk more afterwards. But don't mind me. This is why it's always good to meet beforehand instead of doing it in person. That's how I can hide my disability.
Okay.
But with that being said, starting right off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Currently, I'm an actress in New York and New Jersey. I have recently started a theater company for children called Pixie's Playground Theater Company. I'm the artistic director. I'm in the process of getting our first show up and off the ground and planning out summer camps and classes for kids in the area I live in New Jersey. I'm originally from Texas. I grew up there, I went to college there, and then eventually moved to New York City for conservatory training in the arts. And that's how I ended up on the East Coast.
No, absolutely. Now, who influenced you to start your acting career? And have you ever worked with people with disabilities?
That's great. Both are great questions. And I think my parents just knew, they didn't know what to do with me as a child because I was one of those kids that was always making up stories or puppet shows or creating my own fake magic tricks, But they knew early on that's kind of the path I was on. And they did their very best to push me in another direction, but I've always circled back to the arts. And finally, it was just one day, you can only ignore a calling for so long. And one day I just knew I was done with my corporate career. And that's when I made the arts, acting, directing, designing full time. And the question is, have I ever worked with people with disabilities before? Yes, absolutely. I taught for a period of time, young kids for theater. And I worked with people who are on the spectrum quite frequently, autism, Asperger's. And that does bring a challenge, but it's not impossible. In fact, some of those students are some of my very best students. They just had a very different way of thinking. And it's, as a teacher, it's up to you to figure out how to engage your students and how to figure out how best to teach them. So, I learned a lot. I grew a lot from that experience.
No, I agree with you. And, it's funny, you can be, so perfect all you want. And he can say, I went to college, and I have a bachelor's, and I have a master's, I have a bachelor's, master's, degree, whatever. But for some reason, you can't drive a car. That's really interesting.
That's true. I mean, I really believe, being a good teacher is being open to learning from your students. Honestly, it's not so much you have so much information to share. It's that you're encouraging your students to explore what they have and who they are and get curious about their environment, get curious about the material. And as long as you stay curious about them and the material you're at, I think those are some of the best teachers.
No, I agree with you. Now, for what people, I'm trying to think off the top of my head without hurting myself.
That's okay.
So, what type of disabilities would you say that you got a chance to work with? And how do you know to deal with that?
I think, for me, the first kind of disability I started working with was probably my own, if you want to call it a disability, but I have depression and anxiety. And every day that is a huge battle. It's, there's highs and there are lows. And it's knowing when to reach out and knowing yourself quite well is really the first step, at least for me. But as far as working with other people, I think really teaching was, maybe even before that. I would say maybe even in school, like when you're making friends and you're reaching out and you're trying to connect. I think those are the first times you ever, as a human, start, unless you've got a family member, you start working with other people that have disabilities.
No, I agree.
Does that answer your question?
No, absolutely. And, I'm just thinking how I'm going to carry this over to the live show. But, hey, anything can happen live. So it's pretty much how what we're talking about right now, how his wife growing up. Actually, that's another question I was going to ask you. What did you major in when you went to college? And what was your life like growing up? And if I asked that already, I'm sorry to repeat.
Don't worry, it's good. I sometimes it helps because I'll hear it and I'm like, okay, that was that question. And then there's another question. Oh, wait, what was the first question? Got it. So what was it like for me growing up? I moved around a lot. My home life was very, very unsettled. Because anytime my dad got a promotion, we would move. He would just uproot the family and then move on to wherever his company wanted him to be. We ended up in Texas, and I think before middle school, this is before I turned 11, I had already been to 13 different schools. So think about that as a kid. That's being uprooted like every six months, every few months, you're being uprooted and put into a new school. So by the time I turned 11, my mom said, enough, we're staying in one place. And we did. We did until I finished high school. And then I went on to the University of Houston, where I studied literature, and I have a minor in business. So I got the best of both worlds. I've got the creativity and the business side of things, which has served me quite well in my career. I don't regret that at all, those choices at all. Probably not choices my family wanted me to make, but I did it anyway. I paid for my school and my family, but I did 100% of my education. And then after that, the second, tell me about the other question. What else did you want to know?
Oh, what did he major in?
Oh, got it. Nailed it both times. And then after that, like post-grad, once I started really considering artistic work, I went on to American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco, and I studied there for a little bit. And then I finally enrolled in Manhattan at the William Esper Studio, and I did their 2-year program. So there's a lot of education floating around in that brain, and hopefully it's all been put to good use.
Yeah, I agree. For me, people labeled me as mentally challenged, mentally disturbed, retarded. I word and read at a 5th grade level. I piss people off. I don't know if that's really a talent, but it seems what I do. I rub people the wrong way, sometimes deliberately. Okay, yeah, it's fine. But sometimes I do it because if it's normal to me, my mannerisms, it's fine, but at the same time, I don't know. There's no switch saying, okay, you're in this, you have to act a certain way. For me, I'm just going one step at a time, and this is who I am. You gotta accept me for who I am. So I kind of rub people the wrong way. Not like I said, sometimes I do bring it on myself. I'm not perfect, but there's other times where we just met, and then I would say something. It's like, oh, Keith's an asshole. It's like, well, he didn't do that deliberately. He just doesn't cope with the people skills. I have poor people skills. That's one reason for the talk show. It's because it's therapy for myself.
That's great. That's actually quite ingenious, to be perfectly honest. Spending a lot of time learning how to connect and read people socially. That's quite a skill.
No, absolutely. My dad has this knack of sizing people up, and my sister sizes people up too, and I'm trying to copy that. And there's times where I can size someone up where I'm like, okay, where's this going to go? Or sometimes I would just walk into it with my brights on, like a deer in a headlight. I give you an example. I went for an interview, and as soon as I walked in, I saw this woman. She was a real uppity, and she sat there with a hat, and she had her arms folded. She's like this.
Oh, no.
And right there, I sized her up right away. It's like, you know what? Why am I even here? I know you already made your mind up as soon as I walked through the door. There's people like that where a switch will go off in my head. It's like, yeah, I know where this is going. Why am I even doing this? But there's other people that would put a smile on, and I'm saying, are they doing it to mess with me? Or are they just being a phony? So that's where it tries to trick me, because you don't know how to size somebody up. But if you sit there then you already know what you can expect.
Exactly. And I think the key to that is trusting your intuition, trusting your gut, like knowing that however you feel in that situation is probably right. If that makes sense. I don't know.
That's true. You can say for that interview, I left vapor trails.
Yeah, okay.
She's like, I'm gonna walk you to the. Oh, yeah. As soon as she said door, I was already out the door.
Like,
I
see you
was-
later.
I was so pissed because it's everything I told her about. I know everything about the merchandise. She cut me off. Nope, you're wrong. You're wrong there. You're wrong here. And on and on. I said, I really want to work for this company. I'm very passionate about it. I used to work, I can tell you off the air about it. I worked for them for 3 years. I left on a bad note. I wanted the job back. She said, in her exact words to me, I don't give a damn how bad you want to work for this company again. It doesn't make a difference to me. I was like,
Wow.
that sums up this interview because you made up your mind as soon as I walked through that door. So I can't stand people like that.
That's hard because they say, like, if you, the articles I've read, psychological articles I've read, is that people make up their mind about you in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It happens to us as actors, too. Since I go on auditions, I know when I walk in that room if they're open to me or not. I know very quickly. You get a feeling. And but it's the same. Even in an interview, it doesn't matter where you go. People judge you in those first 30 seconds. And that's a shame that they don't take some time to get to know you, really.
Yeah, I agree. And the next thing I'm going to ask you is where do you stand on social media? Do you think what I call it, social media, can it make you or break you? And for the type of business that you're in, the type of business that I'm in, does it dictate if people should work with you or not?
That's a great question, and I think that's very astute of you to ask. I think you're really tuned into a lot of what's happening. And I think, I don't know, myself, I'm conflicted. On one hand, I see the need to market yourself and to, to push yourself out there, put yourself out there, to look for work, to hustle for work. And I think that's an easy way via social media. Like, who do you know? But I'm also conflicted because I think right now the trend is to hire people that have a huge following because they're marketable, because they already have an audience, and marketers don't have to do nearly as much work. But then, how do you know they're actually talented? I mean, if you're going to hire them just based on the dollar signs, or are you going to hire them for the work? Hopefully, you hire them for the work. But yeah, that's where I get really conflicted on that. I personally, if I could get rid of social media entirely, I would. But unfortunately, based on the industry I'm in, that will never happen. That will never happen. So I have to make the best of it and use it appropriately and carefully.
Yeah, I agree. And there's things like I would say to someone, does your following matter, or let me ask you, does the following matter, or does your message matter? Well, to you, what is stronger?
For me, it's always a message. It's about living my truth. If I'm going to have to be on social media and you only get a tiny little glimpse into my life, and it's really kind of funny what I've noticed on social media. It's either the best of your life or it's the absolute worst of your life. It's never anything in between. So you get this really skewed look into somebody's world. So for me, if you're going to be part of that, let the message be important. That's my stance for that.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, just like what I said, the whole point of my show is to show people with a learning disability, look at what I'm able to accomplish. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself, and that's repeating the thing, and I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities. But you should never give up, and you should prove people wrong. Show them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. And you should prove to them you can stand out to something.
It's true.
No, I agree with you. And at the same time, I kind of don't have a big following. I'm still working on it, and I'm kind of impressed your cat's on that little ledge thing. It's pretty cool. Your cat has a little tower thing.
It does, yeah. He's got a little... He's up there, he's taking a little nap.
Sorry, easily distracted.
It's okay. He's pretty cute. Although his name is Ravenclaw after
nice.
Harry Potter. And I've got the other one. I don't know where she's at, but she's Hufflepuff. So I've got my nerd tendencies here.
And, I've been turned down for interviews. People ask me, what is your following? Can you guarantee me a couple of million people? And I'm like, all right, that's one. And the other thing they ask me is, I will only be on your show if you pay me. And I'm like, well, if I pay you, I'm bribing you to be on the show, number one. And number two, you're using me for a payday.
Yeah.
Payday. And I'm bribing you with money to be on my show. So you don't really give a damn about my message. All you care about is getting money.
Yeah, that seems a bit skewed. But the flip side to that is that at least you know where they stand, and you know that maybe that's not the right person. Definitely not the right person for your show.
No, absolutely. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, I'm going to pass the show over to you.
Oh, okay.
Me, Mark Medley.
Hi everybody, this is Mark Neely.
Barry Babick.
This is Peter Bruno.
My name is Kyle Collier.
This is Julio Santiago, better known as Dynamite.
I'm Richard Epcar.
Orange Chow.
This is Kerrigan Mahan.
This is Goldar.
And we both support
Keith Andrew.
My name is Ron Wasserman, and I am supporting Keith Andrew on what he is doing, and you better do the same, or I'm gonna come kick your ass.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 449. I'm your host, Keith Andrew, along here with Ms. Faith. I just want to say thank you for sticking with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be 449. That's pretty awesome, actually. You've already got that many interviews. I'm incredibly intrigued.
Well, unofficially, I did over 772, but there's a long story about that. But yes, officially 449. But with that being said, with the last 9 minutes left and counting, I'm going to pass the show over to you. Is there anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to promote? This is your time, after all.
Well, honestly, I'm incredibly curious as to when you started. When did you start doing these interviews? And was there a moment in your life that you just had that idea of, like, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how.
Sorry to try and catch my breath.
It's okay.
This shirt's really warm. So, did you want to talk about the show that I'm working on, or did you mean this show in particular?
I want to talk about this. Well, when you started doing these interviews, then you could the previous ones that you don't currently, if you'd like. But what happened? There was a moment in your life when you just decided, I'm going to do this. What was that moment? What was that just pushed you in this direction?
There's a lot of different stories I use. I use my dad for an inspiration. I use one of my siblings for an inspiration. I use my disability as an inspiration, I guess. But instead of using my disability as a crutch, I said, you know what? I'm going to turn a weakness into a strength. And for a long time, I call it the boomerang. You throw the boomerang, and as it's going, this is go back to 2006 and 2007, it's spinning. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. I don't have to take a work in a normal job. I get disability money. I don't have to go to college. I don't have to take any state exams or whatever. Because I have a disability, and I'm retarded. I have a disability, and as the boomerang's coming back, a couple of years later, it's then you first off if you don't catch it, you got whacked upside the head. But at the same time, because you throw it, you're saying all this, all of that, me. As it's coming back, now people are like, oh, I know you now. You're the kid with the disability. You're Mr. I don't have to do anything. So you just basically labeled yourself as saying, you have a disability, I'm going to sit back and things will be handed to you. You don't have to earn anything. So that's why I call it a boomerang. There's another time where I would sit with my family, and this is what broke the camel's back besides the boomerang. And I would, one of my brothers he didn't know what to do with his wife, and he said, well, you should go take the state, I can't talk. You should take the state exam, you should go work in the city, you can work in broadcasting, you have a BA in that. And I said, what about me? Yeah, it should be a book, what about me? Do a hashtag about that. Anyway, so the book, now I'm talking about the book. So basically I said, what about, now I can't say it with a straight face. What about me? And I said, what about you? 1, you're not educated. 2, you never went to college. 3, you're not qualified. 4, you have a learning disability. 5, you piss people off. And 6, you always get fired from a job. 7, you have poor people skills. And you kept going on and on and on. I said, screw it. I'm going to show you with a disability that I can still amount to something. And this is after Hurricane Sandy. I was just sitting there. I used a couple of people for an inspiration. I'm like, why can't I do that? And 2013, June of, I don't remember the date, but it was June of 2013, I said, I'm going to create a talk show. And it's the 72 that I mentioned were, don't ask me why, it seemed like a great, and should I have a recording of that, how many times I said this? I wish I had $1 for every time I said this. Don't ask me why, it seemed like a good idea at the time. I did 72 phone interviews.
Oh, wow.
And I got people from Amazing Spider-Man, from Dragon Ball Z, from Power Rangers. But 2 things that bothered me. 1, I was still having panic attacks, and my heart was beating, and it's like, I don't know why I'm acting like this. We're not seeing each other. It's over a phone, for God's sakes. But I was still having a panic attack. I still get anxious and throwing up. And one guy said to me, well, you have this great format. Why aren't you as big or bigger than you portray yourself to be? Why don't you have sponsors? Okay, would you like to help me with that? No, if you can't do it yourself, it's meant to be. So I was like, yeah, thanks a lot, asshole. I didn't say that to him, but when I hung up, I said that.
That's what you were thinking. Got it.
One guy said to me, this is what I'm going to say to you. Do your show over and try something different. Thanks to him, I did. Unfortunately, people at the time were saying you're not copyrighted, you're not trademarked. And so I went to a senior advisor who's a lawyer. And I think it was in Florida or California or something. He said, can I ask you a couple questions? He said, do I need to be trademarked? He said, no. Because I said, you do not have to be trademarked because that's $2,000. Are you making any money? No. Okay. Well, all you got to do is put yourself in a hole for $2,000. And you're not making money, so right now it's not doable. Down the road you should, but right now, because you're not making any money, it's fine. Then he said copyrighted, you don't have to be copyrighted because you're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that. And of course I'm paying for the name too. And he said your biggest mistake was you were taking people at their word. So for an example, if I met you a couple years ago, I would say, hey, can we do the interview? That's fine. Or we would go on the record. Okay, we're doing the interview now for the record. State your name and date. But I have your permission. And I was taking people at the word. And I went back. That's why I got my belt. Another bright idea. It's a lot of people said to me, you don't buy yourself trophies. Trophies are given. So I got myself a trophy because I got up to 300. And little by little, people said to me, yeah, my agent said, my publicist said, you ask a lot of stupid questions. We don't like the video quality. We don't want to be seen as people like you. You're degrading. You can't take it down. I'm going to sue you. This and that. So I said, screw it. I took everything down. At the time, I'm a big wrestling fan, if you can tell.
Yeah.
I was like, I liked Hershey's and Snickers presents Monday Night Raw or WrestleMania. So I like, alright, I have the Keith Andrew Network. Why not have the Keith Andrew Network presents Uncensored? Of course, I met an actress who took my show idea and used it for herself, but because she's a mid-card celebrity and everyone's got to take her side over mine, I said, you know what, I'm paying for the name Keith Andrew Network, might as well use it. So now it's Keith Andrew Network Season 5 episode. You sign the form, I introduce myself, I tell you what the theme of the show is, and you agree to let me interview you. And I should have been doing that from the start, but that was my biggest mistake because I was taking people at the word. And
anytime you do a creative process like this, because this is a creative process, there are things that you learn along the way. That there are things that are not clear up front, and so those are hard lessons, but those are very valuable lessons. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know, but I have my own struggles with some of those things, and I'm trying to figure out as I go. But contracts are important.
That's true. Now, we're going to wrap up. We have a couple questions for you off the air. I don't know if you hear that crackling in the background or not.
No.
I guess it's only on my side. So, wrapping up, I do have a couple questions off the air. But when I first approached you, the big first thing, I'm getting ahead of myself. Are you on LinkedIn, Stage 32, Facebook, Twitter? Are you on social media? And when I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your first reaction, and what made you say yes?
Yes, I'm on all of those social media platforms. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I even have a website and a company website. And honestly, what made me say yes is that I'm in the mode of empowering other people. I want other people to speak their truths. I want other people to feel comfortable with who they are. And if I can support you with whatever creative endeavor you're working on, I want to do that. That's why I said yes.
Oh, I appreciate it. Now stay tuned for off-the-air questions about wrapping up our interview segment. It was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was fun.